By doing our work, we are not only satisfying our superiors, but also the one up there who is our God. It demands selfless service in which the welfare and accomplishment of the mission comes ahead of our individual desires. On solidarity, it is the consolidating and integrating value to which all of us bind ourselves with the rest of our comrades in arms. We should avoid joining other fraternal organizations because it will destroy the solidarity of the men in the AFP. This is because we will receive other doctrines different from the doctrine that the AFP is teaching to its men. Except if the one being taught is coming from the Bible, then that is wisdom. There is no problem about that. On AFP stands on basic issues. We start on spiritual life. The Code of Ethics encourages the practice of one's religious belief. It promotes the free exercise of religion in the armed forces of the Philippines. On people support, the AFP firmly acknowledges people's support as vital to achieving peace and order. Thus, it shall respect the living conditions, beliefs, ways of life, and the totality of environment of the people. On national development, the AFP shall be the people's partner in promoting peace, national development, and progress, just like what the Engineer Brigade of the Army is doing. On civilian supremacy, the President as the Commander-in-Chief of all armed forces shall exercise command and control over the armed forces. The armed forces of the Philippines must respect the laws enacted by Congress. The AFP shall also carry out the directives issued by the COMELEC, especially when deputized during election to ensure honest, orderly, and peaceful election. The AFP shall enforce the writ issued by the judiciary. On chain of command, the commander shall exercise their authority over their subordinates with prudence and shall accept responsibility for their actions. Command responsibility shall extend to the level as determined by an appropriate and competent board. On issue of military leadership, the members of the AFP must have the ability to influence members of the organization in the fulfillment of its roles, obligations, and functions. The true leaders must have the ability to move his men into action to accomplish a given task. On partisan politics, the AFP must remain apolitical or shall not favor any political candidate or any political party. On the issue of war, the AFP renounces an offensive war, not a defensive war, because the AFP is created in order to defend the country from any external or internal threats. On issue of human rights, the AFP respects the inherent dignity of a human being and his inalienable rights as contained in the Universal Declaration of Human Rights and other declarations to which our country is a signatory. On issues of enemies of the state, the AFP considers enemies of the state who shall engage in organized crimes, those who shall not accept the supremacy of civilian authority, and those who subscribe to violence as a means to achieve their ends. Article 4 is the AFP membership. The Code of Ethics lists down the requirements that must be complied by those applicants who wish to join the AFP, as shown. So we are now on professionalism. Professionalism is the expert application of specialized skills based on an organized body of knowledge and in accordance with laws and/or code of ethics with the highest degree of excellence in the accomplishment of the mission. Standards of professionalism can be attained only by observing the following standards: standards of loyalty, standards of competence, standards of ethics, standard of morals. Standard of loyalty: all military personnel must be loyal and true to the Republic of the Philippines by defending the country against external and internal threats. Example, foreign invaders or terrorists. Members of the AFP must be loyal to the Constitution by upholding what the Constitution is saying about the given issues or matters, just like doing the task given to the AFP as mandated by the Constitution. Must be loyal to the AFP by maintaining and respecting the chain of command. No acts must be executed or without the approval of authority within each level of authority. Otherwise, the personnel who directed the doing of a certain action or omission in case of untoward accidents or incident that had happened will be held personally responsible. Members of the AFP must be loyal to the people. Of course, the AFP is here to protect the people. We should always see to it that civilians is taken care of during the conduct of legitimate operations. The conduct of legitimate operation must be cautious in order to avoid having a civilian casualty. We are now on the standard of competence. A standard of competence can be achieved by having the qualification as mandated by the policy of the AFP. The applicant is admitted to the AFP. The presumption is the applicant have the required qualification. And these qualifications are being enhanced while in the military service through attending schoolings or special courses or seminars. We are now on standard of ethics. All military personnel must observe and conform to the accepted principles of right conduct being observed in the society, such as honesty, justice, truthfulness in dealing with persons and material resources. Standard of moral. All military personnel must respect his superiors, peers, and subordinates. Meaning, you can show respect to your superiors by avoiding negative comments about him or her. Don't be a backfighter. Be faithful to his pledge to serve the country above self. Be faithful to his or her wife or husband. By being faithful to your wife or husband, you must love no other person than your wife or husband. Otherwise, if carnal relationship occurs, one can be subjected to a criminal or administrative offense for either immorality, adultery, or concubinage. Protect not only his personal honor, but that of others as well. Practice transparency and openness in dealing transactions. This deals with unprofessional acts. These are the behaviors that fell short of the professional standard set forth in the code. The best example is smoking while walking and in proper uniform. Acts of disloyalty. Acts or omission betraying one's faith, duty, and commitment to God, country, people, constitution, AFP, chain of command, unit, office, and its mission. These are the example of acts of disloyalty. 1. Any form of cowardice, desertion, or abandonment of post or duty. 2. Contempt or disrespect towards the commander-in-chief, appropriate civilian authorities, one's superior officer. 3. Any attempt to create or participate in any violent action against the duly constituted government or its subdivisions, agencies, and instrumentalities, or engaging in any mutiny or sedition. 4. Giving aid or assistance protection, comfort, information, or any form of support to the enemy or his allies. 5. Refusal to execute duty or take appropriate action during times of crisis, uprising, and similar occurrences. On acts of incompetence. This means lack of required knowledge, skills, physical attributes, and character traits necessary for the adequate performance of duty and accomplishment of the mission. Examples: 1. Failure to attain the minimum passing grade in any AFP training and education program. You are also called incompetent when you have inability to meet the physical, medical, mental, and moral fitness test requirements of the service. We'll now go on unethical acts. Unethical acts refer to all acts or omissions which deviate from establishment and accepted ethical and moral standards of behavior and performance. Examples: 1. Directly or indirectly engaging oneself in outside employment or business sidelines, using government time unless authorized by proper authority. 2. Allowing any wrongdoings or irregularity in the military service or refusing or failing to take action or report the same to the appropriate authorities. 3. Lobbying for any favor, including but not limited to promotions, assignments, positions, and other privileges personally or through other person. At present, the Headquarters Philippine Army has the policy on this. Allowing, tolerating spouses or dependents to interfere or meddle in official functions. 5. Fornication. The meaning of fornication is having sexual intercourse with a person not your wife or husband. 6. Engaging in vices such as excessive gambling, womanizing, excessive drinking, or intoxicating liquor, use of prohibited drugs, and the like. So, we are now on the corrupt acts. Corrupt acts are all acts or omissions described and characterized as crimes against public interests, public morals, property, chastity, civil status of persons and honor, and under the pertinent provisions of the revised penal code, and those specifically mentioned in RA 3019 and RA 6713, and other special penal laws, including the Articles of War, AFP rules and regulations, and directives which involve dishonesty, injustice, and immorality committed by any military personnel in connection with his official position, function, rank, or influence to obtain material gain or personal interest or advantage, causing damage to any party, including the government. So what are the examples of corrupt acts? 1. Any form of conversion, any form of sale, application, or use of government funds or property other than what they are intended. Example, poll allocation, firearms, ammunition, and other supplies. Any participation in or toleration of fixed bidding. 3. Falsification, alteration of a records, documents to justify unwarranted acquisition or disposal, sale of government equipment to favor any party, including himself. Receiving, accepting, demanding, or insinuating to receive gifts in any form or in any occasion. Allowing, tolerating military spouses and dependents or dummies to deal or participate in any form of transactions with the AFP, including but not limited to biddings and the like. Article 6, AFP Custom and Traditions. AFP Customs and Tradition tells how the AFP is unique from other government agencies through its various custom and traditions. So as defined, customs are accepted practices realized through continued usage that takes the force and effect of a common law. Example, tree valleys over graves, military wedding, salute, trumpet and bugle calls, courtesy, flag raising ceremony, flag retreat ceremony, and others. Tradition as defined are inherited principles, standards, and practices that serve as guide for individuals or groups. Traditions are accumulated experiences and deeds passed on from generation to generation. The significant military traditions are the following: tradition of honor, tradition of loyalty, tradition of valor, tradition of duty, and tradition of solidarity. Example of traditions: in traditions of public service, a military is a public servant. He goes where he is ordered and performs the task which his duty requires. And tradition of leadership, everybody in the service is trained to lead and follow, to receive and execute. On tradition of discipline, the leader must set the example of discipline. On tradition of esprit de corps, it is the art of working with others willingly and wholeheartedly to attain a common goal. Tradition of subordinate welfare, the officers, especially the commanders, are expected to take care of the morale and welfare of their troops and dependents. Article 7 states the general provision. It states things relevant to the compliance to the Code of Ethics. The directive here is the Code of Ethics shall be included in the curricula of all AFP courses and training programs, including CAT and CMT. The provisions of the Code of Ethics shall be taken up during TINE sessions. Every member shall sign a certification that he or she has read and understood the provision of the Code. That ends my lecture. Good day and mabuhay.